Unlike the best, these are the worst films of 2016. And this is like taking a dump. So it goes a lot quicker because there was a lot of some movies that was terrible. You got Gary Marshall's last film he done before he passed away, which was trash, Mother's Day. And it's a good thing you didn't have to see that movie at all. That was a trash movie. You had The Boss. Assassin's Creed was bad. Shut In almost made the list, but it didn't. And that movie is an insult to film, period, as far as believability. You're like, what in the world is this crap that I'm looking at? And it's a host of bad films. Like, even I was like, man, animated films can be bad? Norm of the North. Oh, it is terrible. Then you have movies that they thought would be good. The Huntsman, and I'm like, the sequel to The Huntsman, I can't even remember the name. That's how bad it is. Well, movie wasn't that bad, but The Staring Glass, Alice in Wonderland sequel wasn't that great. The Brigsby, whatever, with Sacha Baron Cohen, that movie was bad, but it wasn't as bad as the films that we got on the list. There were some other movies that went straight to Netflix that people talk about, and of course they talk about Meet the Blacks and 50 Shades of Black, and spoof movies I don't add to this list because that they're not supposed to be taken seriously, you know. But then you have movies that's out there like Inferno, the third part of the defunct books that they just like, look, we gotta finish this. People are like, let's just finish it and get it over with. Where they're doing Dante's Inferno from that Da Vinci Code, you know, debacle that they started and just said, well, it was 3 books. We did a deal for 3 books. Let's just finish it. And it was just like it was a no-show job. Well, with that being said, we should go right into the list now, because I think we went through the movies that a lot of people said that we pretty much agree with that was bad. One movie that a lot of people think is bad that I didn't agree with was Suicide Squad. I actually enjoyed Suicide Squad. And Ride Along 2 almost made this list with Dirty Grandpa, but they were a lot better than these films I'm about to name. At number 10, we have Allegiant. And Allegiant barely squeaked out Shut In to make the list. And the reason why Allegiant beat out Shut In, and the reason why it was so bad, is because it had so much money put into it. This is like the third part of a series that they wanted to split into 2 films. And like the Hunger Games, this didn't work. And it was terrible. I mean, the direction was bad. It looked like they were just trying to go through it. The movie did so poorly that they're talking about releasing the second part on television and making it a TV movie or a straight to DVD type film. That's how bad the Allegiant movie was. And Miles Teller said, hey, look, I signed up to do movies, not television, so this is a violation of my contract if that is the case. But this movie's all over the place. It's supposed to continue this war that nobody really cares about anymore. They adding other characters, like the mom comes in. It's just a mess. The CGI or whatever is like terrible. I don't know, whoever did the CGI for this movie was on drugs or high or something, because he stole a lot of money there. Then I don't even want to waste time just talking about this movie in general. I can go all day picking that apart. But we'll move on to number 9, The Darkness. The only reason The Darkness is on this list is because of the fact that it had people like Kevin Bacon in the film, and I'm like, why is Kevin Bacon in this terrible film? And this movie was made years ago with Davi, the one that plays Bruce Wayne on Gotham, being one of the ones who are affected by this entity that's going on. And this entity is ruining everything about, like, they went to this cave in Grand Canyon and this Indian burial ground, and these Indian spirits all inhabited this boy, and they're all in the room, they're all in the house, and he's got to go get a... The CGI is so terrible for this film. The acting is like, the pacing is way off. Nothing makes sense. And you're just like, I've just wasted my time watching this film, and I wish I can get it back. Which brings us to number 8. Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur is one of the greatest, like, theatrical achievements in history. Next to Spartacus, all of these things was shot in 70mm film. The scenes are incredible. Watching it, and to look at this remake, once I saw Morgan Freeman with the cornrows, the gray cornrows out there, and the movie goes left from that point on, and it made no sense. The butterfly and the rainbow things at the end, I don't know what they were trying to do with the unicorn thing. Ben-Hur's a mess. Okay, it did have some good action scenes, but the acting is terrible. It looked like a made-for-TV film that they tried to force, actually in IMAX. That's surprisingly enough. They tried to dupe people to watch it on IMAX. Which brings us to number 7. The movie everybody thought would probably be number 1 is Ghostbusters. There were movies worse than Ghostbusters. Believe me. But yes, this is on one of the worst films of the year. It started out great. The CGI was incredible for this. I think that's where the majority of this money went to. But they went too far to beat on the head of this feminism crap. If you want to make a film with just 4 women and make it funny, make it interesting, and that McKinnon girl, I don't know if she's just a terrible actor or she's just really off. Somebody need to tell her that this wasn't Saturday Night Live. She was all over the place. The storyline is really stupid. The only thing that was great about the movie is the guy who's probably the weakest actor of all of them. And no one expected to get anything out of Thor, but Thor was the best part of the film. Which moves us to number 6. Sausage Party. Nobody ever wants to go to a sausage party. But this is another Seth Rogen, snooze fest. And what I mean by that, this is Seth Rogen's just attempt, I guess, to make another film without putting his face in it and use the jokes, and they're just not funny. And what happened is somebody had a good idea and said, man, if we got the food perspective on, because I've actually had that same idea before. Like, what if was food thinking that we get to eat it and all that stuff, and they would have a personality, no, don't eat me. We've done that with gummy bears and stuff like that, other candy. So now they were probably high and came up with an idea of making a movie based on what would happen if the food got eaten, and from the food's perspective of what the humans are doing. And what started off as a fun premonition of like, oh, that'll be cool. They could not write around this idea without making it very unfunny and just dropping curse words to try to make comedy, and the curse word is the punch. So for teens, the teens ate it up. I chuckled once in this film. That's how bad it was. Chuckled once. I knew I would never watch this film again. And the end scene is so sick, it doesn't even make sense. Sausage Party is garbage. Do not even waste time watching it on cable. Number 5, The Gods of Egypt. First off, you can't get two white guys and call them the gods of Egypt. That's just not going to work. 2, at least have a believable plot. And this is what happened when they take Egyptian stories and want to make films out of them, and they don't understand it. Now you got people running, flying around. You got another guy in space who's like, he's dead, but he ain't dead, and he keeps battling with this creature every night. The darkness keeps shooting him away from Earth, and I'm like, what in the world is going on with this film? This film doesn't know what it wants to be, who the bad guy is, what's the problem, and they're taking an Egyptian story and just running away with it and trying to make it into a mega motion picture, and they have no clue or don't understand anything about the story. So it comes off as very dumb in the first place. So it just doesn't make any sense. But it taps a lot on, on destroying what they built with the church. So once you start dancing around that minefield, you're going to get a lot of hate. Number 4, Independence Day. Independence Day is not number 1. It's almost there. Number 4, it is terrible. Oh my gosh. I will watch Gods of Egypt 30 times before I watch this film, Independence Day. And Dr. Oaken, whoever made this film, was just like me, was impressed and loved the character of Dr. Oaken from the first film. But Dr. Oaken is a type of character that you don't make a main character in a film. I don't want to see Dr. Oaken running around shooting aliens and fighting them and all that stuff. That's not what Dr. Oaken's job is to do. Yes, more Dr. Oaken was needed, or great for the film that he survived to put him in this film. But I'm like, Dr. Oaken is supposed to be a scientist. His thing is science. He wants to, study and figure out. That's Dr. Oaken. Dr. Oaken shouldn't be outside. That's not his motivation. You think somebody's going to be outside after they have been inside and enclosed for many years, like 20 some odd years? Dr. Oaken was loving it. He loved being inside. He loved his job. And then the plot is so dumb. You got the dad back in here with the Goldbergs. It was just, one disaster after another. The film just was all over the place once again, and I just feel sorry. I just feel completely sorry for people who had to waste their money to sit in there. And it was just like people just trying to get out of the film. Like, just kill me off. I don't want to be in it. Just kill me. I can't stand this film. And this is probably the best career move Will Smith ever made, was skipping this film. Which brings us to number 3, The Fifth Wave. Another alien invasion film that they got way wrong. This film had potential because the book is very interesting. And this is about aliens attacking in different ways. Like, they kill communication, they kill electricity, power. They send plague, all these different waves, and then they get to the 5th wave, then they do an invasion. They don't attack right away. They send the plague out, start killing them down. You cut off their power, let people panic, start this disease, and all this stuff is going around while they're sitting there. And then when everybody weak enough, they start the invasion, and they start the takeover of the planet. And all of these different waves. Sounds very interesting and very smart, but it's done very dumbly. They tried to put in Hunger Games type of romance into this thing with Twilight or whatever, and it's like a horrible rendition. And they gotta realize that that's jumped the shark or whatever right now, so it's over. That whole teen Twilightism is done and is completely gone and shouldn't be coming back. Number 2 on this list, 9 Lives with Kevin Spacey. What? Christopher Walken's in it? What in the world is everybody thinking? How would they even take this role? Who said, you know what, I've never seen Kevin Spacey play? What? A cat. What? Who came up with this script? And then the idea to cast Kevin Spacey to turn himself into a cat. It's not even interesting. It's not. Even for a kid's film, it is boring. This film is completely boring. It doesn't make sense. You're not... The Shaggy Dog remake it's terrible. It's terrible. I understand you want to implement something for the cats, but 9 Lives is just, it's a terrible film. And I mean, it's got to be one of the worst. It was almost my number 1 if it wasn't for number 1. But yeah, 9 Lives is definitely the worst thing. You skip it. I don't even got to tell you to skip it. You see it on cable, you already know to hit the button. I think it was in the movies a week before it was out of the theaters. It is that horrible, and you wonder why people weren't fired and kicked out of the business for making it. Number 1, Zoolander 2. I remember the first Zoolander, we enjoyed it. We cracked up laughing. The second one is just a monstrosity. Yeah, look, it's such an insult to the first one that you're like, wow, they should have really left this alone. This is when the fans asked for something they really didn't want or shouldn't have got. And they probably was like, well, why did it happen like this? And I see why, Ben Stiller waited on Zoolander 2. Because he knew it shouldn't have been made. The movie, if you were going to make Zoolander 2, you came with it when the buzz was hot for Zoolander 2. People they asked for it back then. Now that you come out with Zoolander 2, people are like, oh yeah, I did want to see Zoolander 2, but I'm going to check it out just because I want to see it. Make a good film. Make a film that's funny. This was just all over the place. The faces were like, okay, nobody really cares about these faces. Owen Wilson was Owen Wilson. He tried to save it, but even his stuff wasn't funny. They kept rehashing old jokes, of course, and hanging on to jokes that weren't funny in the first place, and assumed it would be, and kept carrying it on throughout the film. And it's like, it wasn't funny. Oh gosh, they should have test screened this movie. So, with that being said, I don't want to sit here and tear down movies all day, but these movies have got to get better. Meaning that there are films that's out there that have gotten better that we just got to promote and put out there and get the money to go into the film, like Birth of a Nation. The movie was purposely sabotaged by Hollywood because they don't want blacks to get the idea of going out creating their own films and selling them and making money and wanting black success in Hollywood with these films. These companies are designed to keep feeding you the same type of film over and over each year and keep just changing the title. Now, Bad Santa 2 didn't make my list. It almost did. Because Bad Santa 2 is a horrendous sequel. Don't ever get that wrong. Bad Santa 2, oh my goodness. It is that bad as a remake. But there were funny parts in Bad Santa 2 that keep it off this list. You know, Jason Bourne, you know, it was just boring. All the way through, the action was too much shaky cam every time there was an action scene. And only thing it was is like, okay, the director was showing off locations from a directorial point, it was good. But other than that, it was just kind of boring. You're kind of bored and don't understand the story of where they're going with this. Even if you go back and watch the old Bourne and watch this Bourne, you're like, it's Jason Boring, more like it. And we can't forget the Jack Reacher, Tom Cruise film. The film in which he's, I don't know, just basically running around. It's a terrible film. Nobody really needed the film, and you know, it's a lot of films you could put on this list. Batman and Superman's not on my list. I didn't think it was that bad of a film, and I didn't think Suicide Squad was either. So with that being said, of course they want to put every Adam Sandler film on there. They even go to Netflix to grab Adam Sandler's film. I don't know who he ticked off in Hollywood, but he definitely ticked them off, and they're trying to shut him down. My goodness. But I won't make this too long. I'm out.